I feel like whenever I talk about the Nuggets, it's always something negative, even though they're like the 3rd seed or whatever. But we're going to get negative on the Nuggets again. Gary Harris, what the hell's going on? After his 4th year, he averaged 17 points, and he was looking like he was going to keep getting better. And then Denver paid him, and since then he has been worse. Just a objectively worse player. Less points, worse from 3, and his efficiency has really fallen off. I mean, in his 4th year, he averaged 17 points and 60% true shooting. This year it was, 12 points, or no, it was 10 points on 52% true shooting. I mean, that is a horrific drop-off, and defensively he's still good, and it's not like his contract is horrible, but what happened here? He did have an injury. It was either last year or the year before. I don't remember exactly when. And you could argue that it could have been some lingering thing that just never totally healed. And there's a chance that there's not a chance. It is what happened. His jumper really fell off, and I think that was a big part of his game. And perhaps that just kind of shook his confidence, because now when you watch the Nuggets, it seems like Gary is so either hesitant or that he's just kind of forgotten about within the offense. I mean, safe to say Jamal Murray as well as Will Barton took him over in terms of shot attempts and probably confidence as well. Not only that, but I think Monte Morris came alive last season, and that could have hurt Gary's offense a little bit. I mean, you look at the touches per game of the Nuggets this year, Gary Harris is like 8th or 9th on the list. He actually gets less touches a game than Mason Plumlee does. I mean, he gets less than Jeremy Grant does, and I mean, I get it. Denver's offense, a lot of passes, Jokic, handoffs, plays, things like that. I get it. But even so, that is pretty wild to think about, that a guy who a couple years ago was averaging 17 a game for this team is that far down the pecking order in terms of getting the ball. And even then, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Gary was still making shots, but he isn't. I mean, 33% from 3 on about 4 a game just isn't really going to cut it for the average starting 2-guard. And I think an interesting stat to look at, piggybacking off of the touches, is that in 2018 about 57% of his 2-pointers were assisted, and this year 76% of his 2-pointers were assisted, which to me says he's not doing enough off the dribble. He's not creating enough. He's not taking a play that was going nowhere and turning it into something. He's just kind of flowing within the Nuggets offense, which is cool. I mean, they got a good offense, and giving it to Jokic is one of the best plays in the league, but, doing a little bit more would be nice. Now, as for the locations of where he's taking his shots, I mean, to be honest, it's not a huge difference. Like in 2018, he's actually shooting more of his shots at the basket than he was in 2018. About 1/4 of them then, about 1/3 of them now. He took slightly more of his shots from 3 than now, but it's all basically the same. He's taking similar shots. It's just, it's not happening as frequently, and he's not doing it off the dribble as much. And I feel like there's a chance that this could continue because, for one, it's happened 2 seasons in a row, but also we're going to have the Michael Porter Jr. situation really come to a head next season, probably. And if MPJ is going to get the minutes, and he should, and somebody's got to get pushed out, I mean, the guy who's already being a bit of a disappointment might be the guy. Now, Gary will still have a spot in the rotation, certainly, but, I wouldn't be shocked if he was getting less minutes and less opportunities in the offense, because MPJ has to get in there. It's no way around that one. And I guess another thing is, how essential should it be for Denver to try to get Gary Harris going? Like, is the difference between the Nuggets being what they are now, which I believe was the 3rd seed, and really getting into the, at the moment it would be Lakers-Clippers territory, not in terms of standing, but in terms of us all believing they've actually got a chance against those teams. Is Gary Harris the difference? I mean, to me, it's Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and maybe Jokic going just a level higher than he is now, but we also saw him score more when they needed him to in the Blazers series, so maybe Jokic already kind of has that. I just don't know if Gary Harris is as essential. Now, maybe they do. Maybe they believe that getting him going can really, really help them out. I mean, certainly guys playing better, yeah, that always helps you out, but should they just kind of let him just stand in the corner and play off of everybody, or should they really encourage him to do more off the dribble and stuff? Because I do think Gary has the potential for that sort of thing. Like, yeah, shooting would still be his main thing, but I don't know what you do. Like, do you run more of those Jokic handoff plays to Gary Harris? Do you have him do more than simply spotting up and cutting? Because, I mean, you know, he fits well into the Nuggets nucleus of everybody playing off of Jokic, but perhaps you just want him forcing the issue a little bit more. You know, some Gary Harris pick and rolls, or hell, you could run the Jokic pick and roll with Jokic as the ball handler for Harris. I mean, they mainly just do that with Murray. That's a possibility, but again, it comes back to, like, how much do you really want to compromise what you've been doing for the sake of Gary Harris averaging a few more points? Now, I think another thing to think about is Gary's contract situation. He will be making $19 million next year, and if he keeps going at the rate he has the last 2 seasons, he's going to be averaging less than 10 points a game. That does not sound like a guy other teams would really want. There's a chance the Nuggets would just have to have him on the roster and hope that they can figure something out with him. Luckily, his contract is not super long, so if you just have to sit on a guy who's being overpaid for a year or 2, you do it. But the thing is, like, with Denver, are they going to be willing to not play him in a playoff series? Because, I mean, it's not like this is a secret to teams around the league. Like, everybody would know that Gary Harris has been worse for 2 years now. So, in a playoff series, there's a chance teams could just not defend him. And if Gary is already having confidence issues, which could or could not be a thing, maybe he's staying fine throughout all this, but if that is the thing and you're forced to not play him, there's a chance that you could really mess with the guy's head that way. Now, for what it's worth, in the 2019 playoffs, he averaged about 14 points, and he was honestly pretty good. He shot well from 3 and whatever else. So I don't feel like he got zapped of his talent, but clearly something happened, you know? So, yeah. And I don't know what the solution is. I mean, what do you do with a guy who was good and now is suddenly not as good? I guess you let him work through it and you pull the rope eventually, but again, I don't think he's killing Denver. They're 43-22 when the season ended, so yeah.